All right, so looks like this thing is going, but it doesn't look like it's set up quite right. So for those of you who are on here, thank you. I think there's probably a few people that are watching a different feed, thinking that this is going to be on here. I don't know why this is on the live Spiguyver chat and White Mountains discussion. This was supposed to be a live Q&A and discussion that I had set up. For whatever reason, this is the one that it defaulted to. So I'm not exactly sure why, and I will have to get that fixed. Let me give me a minute. I'm gonna go over to the other one and let those guys know that this is on here and not on that one. If I can figure out how. Just give me 1 second. Not exactly sure how this got messed up like that. I'll have to work on figuring this out. I haven't done a lot of the live stuff, so I'm sure it's my fault. I know for a fact it's my fault. Okay, so it looks like we're pretty much set up. Let those other guys know this is where it's going to be happening. Sorry about the confusion there. I will take a look at the settings and try and get this all figured out so that if I do another live one, this doesn't happen again. Because I feel really bad for people that were waiting over there. Um, I was really excited though because I came on and there were already people waiting. Um, the last couple of times I've done this, I've come on and had to wait around for people to show up. And from the looks of it here, we've got quite a few people actually joining in, saying hey. So let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off and get going. So let's see, who do we have on here? Harry Dangler from Nebraska. What's going on, brother? Uh, YouTube says hey there. Wow, YouTube. Oh, that's awesome. Little Ricky. Hey, Little Ricky, are you going to be down in Texas for the hang? If so, I will see you there. This is perfect. Planning on a trip to the Whites. Well, so this one wasn't actually going to be about the Whites, but if you have any questions about the Whites, we did do the 8 days in the Whites back in the end of July. It was like July 14th through 23rd, something like that. We spent out there in the Whites, had a lot of fun out there. Did the AT from I don't remember which, like 23A all the way through right before the Wildcats. So right after the presidential, we jumped off. Pinkham Notch, I believe, is where we jumped off. Christopher Lynn from Florida checking in. All things outdoors. Hey, what's going on, brother? Got backcountry exposure on here, so we got some big hitters checking in. AG Survival, hanging out in someone ran. Yeah, so yeah, Devin, I am at a hotel. I'm out of town on business, which is why I decided to set this up because I do not have a video ready to go for this week. So I decided I'd do this, kind of hit some questions, see what you guys had going on out there because there were a couple of videos that I've been working on and just couldn't get them together and ready to go in time for this. So that's that. So Random Hotel again. This is third or fourth video from Random Hotel. So that's how it goes. Oh man, I won't be able to make it to HangCon. So man, that kind of stinks. You won't be down in Texas. I won't be able to make it to HangCon. Just kind of the way everything worked out this year. Won't be able to make it there, but you know. Phil Berry from Wisconsin. What's going on? So AG Survival, you're in Oklahoma. I'm in Oklahoma too. So Texas meetup is if you go on Texas Hangers, there's the fall hang down there in a little over a week. So it's November 8th through 14th or something like that. Rain Man and I are gonna drive down, meet up, do that. We got Bofa D's nuts up in here. So I'm not going solo. So both of them not going solo. Got it. Uh, so AG Survival, you are in Tulsa, right on. I'm down in OKC, Edmond area. So for those of you who don't know, Bofadis has another name. His name is Beekeeper, and you guys have probably seen him on a video or two. So Devin's gonna start one called Ground Con for all the tents out there. It's not gonna be anywhere near as fun. It's gonna be a bunch of miserable people that don't sleep very well, have sore backs in the morning. Not gonna be nearly as cool as a hang con. Kevin's got a question about big plans for 2019. Too soon. Family wise, we've got a couple of big trips planned. We've got a trip out to I think Vail for some skiing and stuff. My kids have never gone skiing or snowboarding, and so we've got a trip planned to go out do some skiing, snowboarding in the late winter, early spring time frame, and then we've got an Alaskan cruise planned during the summer. So as far as vacation goes, those are going to be my big vacation spenders, and then there will just be a lot of little trips. I'm sure Beekeeper and I'll try and meet up at some point for a long weekend. You'll probably see several Rainmaker or yeah, probably Rain Man and I'll get out for several weekends that you'll see just because we live so close to each other, and I should stop going with him with the amount of rain I've gotten, but I'm just asking for it. But anyway, yeah, we'll see. We'll see whether or not I can get out for any good backpacking trips. Right now, there's nothing big planned as far as a backpacking trip for 2019. But who knows? Things can change. Oh, you were talking about HangCon. Okay. Yeah, no. I would say just we can plan something else. So Chris asked if I'm coming for HangCon in Florida. Yeah, again, can't make it. Okay, so Chris is the one. If you guys looked at the HangCon 2018 video, Chris brought his baby goats. There were two baby goats that um, Chris Gherkin and me and a couple other guys were just kind of playing around with, and they were super soft and really cool little goats. So Phil Berry says, I think you had a video a while back on hanging hammock and tarp in the same suspension. Have you used that setup much since then? Any revisions or anything you've made? Anything you've made to that setup? So I like that setup, and I will continue to use that setup. And actually, that kind of goes into a question that I got onto Facebook or on Facebook from Chris Gherkin, where he asked if uh, I how often I get out for trips that don't involve testing gear or doing videos. Uh, so when I get out on a trip where I'm not doing a bunch of testing or I don't have stuff specific to test, that will be the suspension that I'm using. I think for now that's going to probably be my go-to suspension, just because it is one that I'm wanting to try out, one that I'm wanting to push a little bit further. The one change that I have made to it is I've wrapped the Prusik knot a little bit more around the webbing. And so what that does is it pulls that toggle that was on that webbing closer to the webbing so that I can get it lower down to the hammock, so there's less of a gap and I can get it lower. It's just going to protect me from any weather a little bit better. AG Survival, you've never heard of HangCon? So it is the big hang convention. So you hear about all these local hangs where people go out, meet up, and show off their stuff. Vendors come, hang out. Well, this one is a big one down in Florida. It's in Ocala. Doe Lake is where it's been the last few years. I don't know whether or not it's there this year or not. A lot of the big vendors show up. A lot of really cool people. I want to say there's like 300 people show up, and so you really get to see people from all over the country, see what they're doing, see different vendors, different cottage vendors that are out there, different DIY type things that people are doing, and really just have fun. Uh, I've had a good time every time I've gone, for sure. So just a general QA, if not a whites discussion. Yeah, so this one was just kind of going to be a Q&A. But like I said, if you have any specific whites questions, throw them out there. I will absolutely answer them. We did that trip, had a ball. So throw them out there. I am definitely in King Lone Star. I will be down for the fall hang for sure. Like I said, Rain Man and I will be coming down, and got the site reserved, already paid for. And I may be. So Uncle Mike actually asked the other day if I would be on the mic for the raffle and for Saturday night's festivities. So I may be on the mic. I may be the one running things there. Not really running things. I'll be the one talking. How about that? So, Restless Outdoors, the Restless One. You should make a hammock out of that curtain behind you. Trippy, man. Actually, if you take a look at Mike's last dream hammock that he had made, it's not far off from that. Dream Hammock made him a pretty cool one. That's Beekeeper, both of these nuts on here. Uh, yeah, he's got a pretty cool one that actually isn't. Honestly, it's not far off from what those curtains are. So yeah, it is that. I like that. A curtain hammock. That might be might be what happens. So what sort of quilts? So for the whites trip, I actually took two different sets of quilts, and actually, did I just use one set? Actually, I did just use one set the whole time. I used some Cedar Ridge Outdoors, so some CRO quilts. They were 40-degree quilts, but the underquilt was definitely overstuffed and probably was good down to close to 20, I would say. It got down into the 30s. I think one night that we were out there and I was warm, it was super comfy the whole time. I had no problems with it. I took, and I actually did a video on the Cedar Ridge quilt, so if you want to go check that out, that's out there. Um, Good stuff. Hey, Up Trail, what's going on? Uh, so I did the trip not last weekend, the weekend before, and I said the name of the trail, one of the trails there. So it was the horse. Was it the Horse Thief Springs Loop Trail? There was the Billy Creek Trail, and then the trail that's the long trail that is 230 miles or so. I called it a couple different things: the Wichita Trail, the Wachita Trail. So I actually had a local who's a trail maintainer who commented and told me the locals call it the Washita. Washita. So that's what I've got to make sure I say. It's the Washita Trail. Uh, so King Lone Star, if you're thinking about getting out there and doing it, yeah, let's talk. Sit down, come find me. Um, Tell me about when you're going. Heck, maybe I might be up for hitting parts of it with you if you're not doing the full thing. Hiking with Sean, what's going on? Good to see you on here. Mr. Bishop, so have I or do I plan a trip to Big Bend? I have talked about Big Bend before. It's quite a drive down from Oklahoma City. It's a pretty long drive down there. the last time I was down in Texas in Abilene for work. I thought about going down there. One thing that deterred me a little bit is that they don't allow hammocks, and really, even if they did allow hammocks, most of the places you aren't going to be able to put a hammock up. I do now have a decent tent, so that does open up the options a little bit better. I don't know. That may be something that I look at because I have heard it's a pretty great place. Have you been down there? Do you have any trails or any specific area? Big Bend's a pretty big park. Is there a specific part of it that would be better to attend or go to than another part? I don't know. Let me know. Will a wool blanket work as an underquilt? Uh, so yes and no. A wool blanket is going to be better than sleeping on a sleeping bag because the wool doesn't compress down like a lot of the synthetic materials that are out there. So it's going to provide a little bit better insulation, but it's going to be nowhere near as effective as either using a pad underneath you or using an underquilt. It can be done. You could do something like if you go and take a look, there are some people online that have done the Costco down throw quilts. Um, just look up CDT underquilt DIY, something like that, and you can find quite a few people that have put those together. Some of them are no sew options, and so I think that quilt it's usually around $20. I believe that I saw some people posting it had gone up to 25 this year. It's now available back at Costco. They have a couple of different size ones, and the one you want to find is the Black Diamond one and not the Eddie Bauer one. I've got some of the Eddie Bauer ones, and they're a little bit smaller. The dimensions aren't quite as big, but you can totally make a a down throw into an underquilt pretty cheap with some snaps, like some put on some snaps and do some lines and stuff. And there are quite a few videos out there that'll walk you through it. I haven't done any of the DIY on that stuff, so I couldn't point you to one of my videos, but I know that there are several people out there that have. And so, yeah, all things outdoors. There you go. Exactly what I was just talking about. Doing it pretty easy and pretty quick. Yeah, exactly. Bishop, the Outer Mountain Loop in spring. Okay, awesome. I will have to check that out. Um, I have not taken a look at that. So King Lone Star says, okay, he's got a couple of different, one, two, three, four different areas there. I will go back and copy these down and take a look at these different areas. I'm not even going to try and pronounce those names because then I'll just get more hate mail about my horrible pronunciation of these names. So, like I said, I'll copy them down and take a look and see whether or not that would be something that works for me. How's the water out there? I got to think there's a lot of areas out there where you've got to carry quite a bit of water. Okay, so AG Survival meant hanging the blankets underneath. Um, yeah, I think you could probably do something like that and it would work a little bit better. Big dog hanger, South Dakota, awesome. So I'm sure you've seen a couple of my videos from up there. Haven't made it back up there in a while. I'd love to get back up to the Black Mountains. Beautiful, beautiful area. Loved all the time I spent up there, and would love to go back and explore some more. So YouTube says, I'm not sure how much winter experience you have, but we are still deciding on a route for the whites in mid-December. Do you have any idea for some trails that would be good that time of year? Ah, man. So for that one, I'm gonna have to say I don't. There are probably a lot of people out there that are from that area that could answer that question a whole lot better than I could. Um, I've got winter experience, but it's almost all in the Sierras, so that's not going to be very helpful for the whites. And really, what we did up in the whites wasn't very adventurous as far as trails go. We were doing like Pemi Loop or putting anything together loop wise. We did Appalachian Trail, just the AT straight through. So sorry, but that's that's beyond what I can really answer on this one. I know that if you were to reach out to Syntax 77 has a lot of videos out there in the whites, several of them in the wintertime. He might be somebody worth working out or looking out to talk to see what he would recommend. All right, so I've got a couple other questions on here that came from YouTube. So the next one from Chris Rexwinkle, also known as Rain Man. What's something that I never thought I would carry or item I usually bring, and what's something that everyone else carries that I always leave behind? So recently, actually on the last gear video, the hits and misses video, I talked about that sit pad or the back pad or the 4 panels of a Z-Rest that I've been using as a back pad in my Appalachian Ultralight, which unfortunately I heard this week that Appalachian Ultralight has gone under. I've actually reached out to Cody, the owner, to find out whether or not there's any truth to that. He hasn't gotten back to me, so that makes me think that it probably does have some truth, which is unfortunate, but a lot of companies come and go for whatever reason. He was doing strictly Dyneema hybrid Cuban fiber type backpacks, and that stuff is not cheap. It's very expensive, and so any waste, any rework is going to be really expensive. So I don't know what happened there. Hoping maybe it's just a temporary thing and he comes back strong because he had a lot of really good ideas, a lot of good designs. I hope to see it. But on that backpack that I carry, the reach around pack, it has a spot for that Z-Rest pad. It's not something that I thought I would carry. I thought it was kind of gimmicky. I really do like the way it feels. And the fact that it doubles as a sit pad and triples as insulation that I can put under my feet if I'm wearing or if I'm using a 3/4 length underquilt and my feet get cold at night, or even if I get cold just with the stuff that I've got, I can put it under my butt as a little bit more insulation, keep from the cold butt syndrome getting me. Anything else. To move to the next one, something that everyone else carries that I always leave behind. Man, I don't know. Maybe a full first aid kit. Uh, you guys know I don't carry much in the way of first aid, and I know that gets a lot of people riled up, and there was a lot of discussion, and I put out that video just earlier this week with or actually last week with the first aid kit from Spiguyver. And first of all, thank you all that went out there and voted. I appreciate it. Right now, there's about 4 days left, and I've got about a 30 vote lead, so looking good for that, and hopefully keep that going because if I win that, there's going to be another giveaway. So, and the 5,000 subscriber giveaway should be coming up pretty soon because we're slowly ticking up. And I've had a pretty good jump here in the last week ever since Shug went ahead and talked about the Hang Your Own Hang podcast that Gresh and I co-hosted or guest hosted. And as a follow-up to that, for future Hang Your Own Hang podcasts, there may be a special segment that I will be involved in on a recurring basis. So check that out if you guys like the Hang Your Own Hang podcast. Might be something to it that I am involved in more frequently. So that will be cool. But as far as something that I everyone else carries, I leave behind, I can't think of anything. He followed on with another question. So this again comes from Rain Man. And he says, okay, here's a good one. Where did the Spiguyver name come from? So I have talked about that a couple of times in the past. And I know that it's one that I get quite a bit. Where did Spiguyver come from? So it started out, back when I first started backpacking, I was doing a lot of rock climbing at the same time. And I had a nickname, and so it was Spider. And so that kind of became my first trail name was Spider. And so when Sherpa Man and I did what we called the Hike for Hope, we did a 110-mile section of the AT through Shenandoah, started outside and ended outside of Shenandoah. But we did it to raise money for diabetes research, and diabetes has touched my family in many ways. And recently, my wife was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So again, still touching my life in many ways. But we went out and we did this hike, and along the way, we were using a MSR pocket rocket, which is still a great stove. And mine actually just went in the mail to someone else, and uh, hoping that that's a welcome addition to someone's kit. But we were using that, and we had a canister. So we used up our first canister. We resupplied, got another canister, and for whatever reason, the canister and the stove were not mating correctly, and so we weren't getting any fuel through the stove and actually being able to ignite it. So we messed around. Well, I messed around shoving sticks and stuff into the nipple on top of the canister, and went out behind the shelter that we were at, rigged it up, got it going, was able to cook dinner on it, and somebody said something about how I MacGyvered it, and the two names kind of got smashed together, and so Spider and MacGyver, smash them together, you get Spiguyver, and the name has stuck, and it's been with me ever since. So there you go. That's how that came to be. So, Big Dog, I will absolutely let you know if I get back up your way, and we'll meet up and see about getting out there and doing some more exploring. Definitely would like to do that. What's a trip that you want to redo the most? Because of things not working out, what would you do different? Ooh, man, there's a lot of good trips that I did. I've had ones that the weather just kind of stunk. I've had ones where things just didn't go right. I've had ones where I just didn't feel good. I've had ones where I just wasn't up to it and quit. So there's a lot of them out there, but I think the one that I really wish, and it's one that's quite a ways back, uh, was not hammock related. It was tent related. So Darren, aka Whipsnake, aka Sir Pax-a-Lot, he and I did a trip up in the Ansel Adams Wilderness. We did some on the PCT, some on the John Muir Trail, and then we did actually some off-trail route finding. I had mapped it all out, figured out what we were going to do, picked picked areas we were going to go to, some backcountry lakes that we were going to hit, and I think it was like on day two, Darren ended up hurting his knee, and believe me, I know how knee pain can be. I know how injuries, especially when you're doing stuff off trail, it becomes a little bit more critical when you're off trail and not following established trails where people are going to be coming across you all the time. So we ended up cutting it short and getting back to a trail and heading out. Uh, that is one, because of that area, I would absolutely love to go back and redo. Um, I'd love to add on to that and do the whole JMT. It's funny. I've been out there and done parts of that. Used to live out there and love that area. That's some of my favorite of anywhere I've ever been. That's some of my favorite area. Uh, Talked about doing the JMT a long time ago. Just couldn't string together, 21 days or in that neighborhood. But now it's almost impossible to get the permits. It's become such a popular route that it's one of those that everyone's trying to do. So there are some other ones out there. Sierra High Route. Those are some other trails that are out there that are really really good. Okay. Yeah, Syntax has some good videos. Um, Definitely check those out. Keep looking. So, Dad's voting what? Link? Anyone? Yeah. So, if you go to the first aid kit video that I posted up, I think it was Thursday of last week. If you go down to the description area, there's actually in there a link that you can click on and go vote. I put that together. They sent it out to several different people and asked for some videos for a video contest, and so I decided to throw one together and do that. Suge's hilarious. Yeah, I like Suge. I watch Suge all the time. I've actually reached out to Suge when I was starting this channel and getting going, and he gave me some great advice. He gives free advice to a lot of people all the time, but he actually took the time to answer a lot of questions that I had. So I love the dude. Great guy. I know that he rubs some people the wrong way. I know that some people think he's a little over the top. The dude's a clown. I mean, like, seriously, the dude is a clown. That's his job. Of course, he's a little bit quirky. So, yeah. Triple nickel in the whites. There's some huts that stay open for the winter season. It's a good way to pack a little lighter. Absolutely. Yeah. Hitting those huts, if you can do that, if you can um, set up a route where you're hitting those huts and not having to carry so much, good way to do that for sure. So, Mark Williams, hey, I've been looking at getting a stuff sack, but had issues with some getting too long to fit sideways. If I have any experience with something like a square bottom stuff sack versus the classic kind, uh, not really. I mean, kind of depends. What are you shoving in the stuff sack? What are you using it for? I mean, I really don't use too many stuff sacks. Most of my stuff ends up just going the into my bag, into my backpack. So you guys have seen before how I do it. I shove my quilts down on the bottom. Hammock goes on top of that. The hammock will be in a double-ended stuff sack. I've got a mesh bag for clothes. Um, I just kind of shove everything in there. So I don't know. I don't necessarily have any square bottomed ones. I have seen some of the videos where I think it's Hyperlight Mountain Gear has some that fit specifically into their backpacks, and I think that's a cool idea if those are what you have. I like to just shove my stuff in there and let it fill up all the small spaces. Yeah, JMT bucket list item. It's a bucket list item for a lot of people. It's one of those that the views and the scenery just cannot be beat. It is amazing, absolutely amazing. Nature Calls Backpacking. Hey, thanks for joining us and driving and listening. Okay, as long as you're not driving and watching, we're good. Uh, but thanks for joining us. Yeah, Mark, he's definitely an entertainer. He loves what he does. Uh, he talked about being introverted, and I as well am very introverted. Um, I don't know. It's kind of hard to believe he's introverted with what he does, but you know that may be why we love backpacking, getting out, and you know I really enjoyed that last trip where I was out solo. I like getting out with other people. I love doing that stuff. I'm going to this hang, but I will be completely honest. The hangs, especially something like HangCon, 300 plus people, the vendors, everyone talking, it wears me out. It really physically wears me out being around people, having to talk that much. Um, it's a little bit stressful for me, honestly, especially if I'm doing video. I have trouble even doing video around my wife, around my kids. So doing it in front of other people is kind of a weird thing. I don't know. It's strange, but yeah. Shug is the goat. So Mark, you said top quilt and under quilt. Okay, so yeah, for me, I do not put my quilts in any stuff sack. I literally will line the bottom of so the way that I do it, if you haven't seen before, I've got my backpack. I line it with a trash compactor bag. I shove everything I'm going to keep dry into that trash compactor bag. So my pillow, my top quilt, my under quilt, shove them in there, press them down as much as I can, throw my hammock in there, throw my dry clothes in there, maybe any electronics gear I have. Then I'll roll that trash compactor bag down, push as much air out of it as I possibly can, roll it a little bit more, and then I'll shove anything that could be wet but isn't necessarily going to be soaked on top of it. Something like my food bag, my cook kit, that type of stuff can go there. Anything that's definitely going to be wet, or has a high likelihood of getting wet, like my tarp, my suspension. That stuff will all go on the outside of the backpack. So I really don't use stuff sacks at all anymore. Yeah, I say not at all, but yeah. Pack liner is what I'm talking about. Yeah, so pack liner, for me, it is a trash compactor bag. Backpacker Dad says he loves Suge, learned a ton watching him, and me. Well, thank you for that. But I think most of us on here watching this, most of us in the hammock community have learned a ton from Suge. He's definitely one of the sources that I went to find answers, and it was one of the few sources where I could find good answers. You could go onto the forums and search and do lots of searching and looking around and reading through. Uh, but actually seeing it definitely makes a difference. So Dads asks, what piece of gear have I been eyeballing to buy? Also, how's your Bandit quilt rank in your stable and why? So I took the Bandit. I'll start with the second question first. I took the Bandit out on that last trip and love it. Absolutely love it. That thing is great. It's my only 20 degree at this point top quilt. I sold all my other top quilts. I had a hammock gear one, sold it. So my 20 degree set is underground quilts. My 0 degree set is hammock gear. My 40 degree set is a mix. My 50 degree set is Loco Libre. Um, at some point, I will buy a CRO set because I really liked their stuff. I tried out Chris's underquilt, and Warren sent me the top quilt to try out, and great stuff. So probably a 30 degree set or 32 degree set, something like that would be a nice filler range there for me. Get a little bit more room, so I'm not having to take the 20 degree set out anytime it's going to get below 40 or around 40. I think it's a great quilt. All of the stuff I have from Underground Quilts has been top of the line. That's the thing. People ask where where I rank the different cottage vendors out there as far as uh, quilts go, and honestly, they're all so good. Um, it's hard to say. It's hard to say one is better than the other. I like certain features on different quilts better. The reason that I've gone with the 0 degree with hammock gear is just the design and the shape of it actually keeps me a little bit warmer because of it droops a little bit for like your butt and back. It's more shaped to the way that you look when you're laying in it, and for me that has equated to a little bit more comfort and a little bit more warmth there. So Intimidator. Oh, actually, sorry, I did not finish the first piece of that. Which, what piece of gear have I been eyeballing to buy? The problem is, I am a gear junkie, and I'm always looking at stuff. I'm always looking at gear and thinking about the next piece of gear. And I think the one piece that I really would like right now, I think I would either go to Cedar Ridge Outdoors and talk with them about it, or go to Underground Quilts and get another one. But I've already got two nice tarps from Underground Quilts, but it's something like a big 12 or 13 foot 4 season tarp with pullouts, maybe even with the internal pole mods. So I have that option, especially for when you're at a hang. Doing a hang and having those pole mods and having so much room inside, those things are awesome. If you ever get to a hang that Paul and Missy from Underground Quilts are at, and she has this purple dragon scale 4 season tarp that she's got, that she always has up, and it has the pole mods in there. Absolutely incredible. The way that you can put that thing into porch mode, you just cinch down the stakes, the lines on the backside, pull it close to the ground. It pulls the front side up. Really cool. Works out really well. So I think that is probably the one thing that I've been kind of eyeballing and kind of thinking about getting at this point. All right. So Intimidator, totally understand the hangs being stressful. Everything changed for me when I started working for a vendor. Still love going, but answering questions representing the company adds another dynamic. I totally get that. Yeah, when it's no longer a social event and it becomes work, of course that's going to be another layer of stress that just gets added into it. Having to know your products and being able to interact with people and answering questions, and sometimes that's just part of it. But you don't get the full experience that some other people are getting that get to go there and have fun and enjoy it, um, because you're working. You really are working, and those are the times where those interactions. I think for the cottage vendors, those interactions are extremely important, and so I see why they go and they set up their stuff. They show their wares, and they get the chance to let people sit in the hammocks, lay in the hammocks, try the stuff, see how they're made. Um, I think those are extremely valuable for building a dedicated customer base uh, that sees and understands your product. Because looking at it online is one thing, but being able to talk to the person that actually put it together with their hands, that's a totally different thing. Really cool. So bandits are awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Backpacker Dad says he's using the trash compactor system. Uh, you said my trash compactors. It's just the trash compactor system. There are a lot of people that have been doing it a whole lot longer than me. It just works. It works, and so that's what I've been using. It's better than a contractor bag or just a garbage bag. It's just a little bit thicker and seems to hold up a little bit better. So that's what I've been using, and I really, really liked it. Any synthetic quilts? At this time, no. The last synthetic quilt I had, I sold. Um, I don't know. I haven't had any problems with any of my quilts getting wet. They may get a little bit of condensation on them. Most of them have either DWR repellent uh, fabric on the outside, or they have a hydrophobic down coating, and so I'm not super worried about them getting wet. I think my system for keeping them dry in my bag has worked out really well. And so the synthetic quilts, the problem with them for me is that they just don't pack down near as small. It's not even the weight issue, because the weight, some of them out there right now, and even what I'm talking about with the compacting them down, I have not tried the new blown in rather than the matted. Uh, right now, most of the synthetics are a batting material. It comes together, and then it's just kind of sewn in, and so you don't have to have baffles. It just is sewn into the fabric. There are now some blown in ones where you actually have to have baffles, and it acts a whole lot more like down. And I'm not sure whether or not they compress down quite the way that down does. Um, I would definitely be interested in checking some of those out and seeing how they work. But for me, it's I've gone to smaller backpacks, the smaller volume backpacks, and so using a synthetic just takes up too much room, and that's simply the reason. AG Survival says his Amazon list goes on for days. Uh, we've all got lists and lists upon lists, and um, yeah, just ask Chris, ask Rain Man about his his buying habits. So Big Dog says he's a huge fan of Marty's at Wilderness Logics. As a big guy for custom making a UQ for him. Um, so terribly tragic news. The passing of Marty here in the last week. I believe it was last week sometime, and his service was just held. Um, so my thoughts and condolences go out to all the members of Marty's family, the members of Wilderness Logics. Um, hate to hear it. Hate to hear that our community has lost somebody as influential and kind and caring as Marty was. So hate to hear that ever. All right, thanks, AG. We'll talk with you later on. So Phil Berry asks if ever carry a separate chair from my hammock. He says he carries a 187-gram titanium folding stool and he loves it. Uh, I've considered in the past getting one of the Hillinox Zero chairs. I know that some other people that may or may not still be on here have had some of those. Good chairs. I keep going back and forth because I do use my hammock to sit in while I'm at camp. Now, the one thing that I do have that I do take really about half the time is the Terrapin Outfitters hatchling. Um, so I will take that and string it up. The difficult part with that is that you can't turn it, you can't set it up to face somebody. You're kind of dependent on trees and being able to set it up between trees, so you're kind of facing a tree or kind of looking sideways. Um, but I have not taken a separate chair with me. Pictured rocks. I'd love to. I don't know. We'll have to see. We will have to see. I know so many of you guys have done videos at Pictured Rocks, though. I kind of want to pick places that uh, other people aren't going to, just because there's so many good videos. I don't want to just do the same thing and show the same views that you guys have all been showing. So, AJ, sorry man, I will not be at HangCon this year. Made it the last 2 years, but this year just can't swing it. Got too much other stuff going on and too many big things going on at work, and just will not be able to. So, unfortunately, that's that. Yeah, definitely a big loss. Anytime we lose someone, it hurts. It hurts everybody. Uh, yeah, kind of sucks. So I'm not sure. I know that we got into Chris Gherkin's Mr. Pickles question about whether or not I ever leave the camera at home and just go out and do one. How often I do that? How often I go out without doing reviews? Last year I did a couple of trips where I did not take the camera, just went out and did my thing. This year I have not done a single one, but I will tell you that probably the next trip I do will not really involve any specific testing of any gear. It will be me taking what I want to take and doing that. Just just getting out and doing my thing and taking the gear that I want to take and just relaxing a little bit more. I love getting out and doing the videos. That's I don't know. It's kind of increased my awareness of what's going on. I think I see things a little bit better out there. I've slowed down to make sure that I'm seeing things, uh, different rock formations that maybe I would have missed them as I walked by. I'm now looking to see, hey, what's out there? What should I be looking at? Uh, I don't know. I enjoy doing the videos. I enjoy getting to camp and having something to do. I like cooking. I like doing that stuff when I get to camp. But I really do like the video stuff as well. West Coast Trail. Oh man, Bishop. I would love to get back out there, and I did a lot of backpacking when I lived out in California, and I'd love to get back out there, do some more, hit some of the old places I hit, just go and do that stuff again. Lost Coast Trail, the man, there's just so many in Northern California that I used to go hit that, um, like Point Reyes, Yosemite, the Redwoods. I mean, just lots of great stuff out there. Uh, it's good stuff. Yeah, Devin, I enjoy doing the video thing. I really do. Um, so I think both of them are awesome. Getting out, doing them with the camera, doing them without the camera. It's just about being out there. I like being out there and having this channel and having people that want to see the videos and want to see what I'm doing. Uh, it drives me to want to do it more and want to get out more. Um, I do have to balance. I've got a wife and three boys. and a job that takes me on the road. So I've got to balance all of it and make sure that I'm keeping everybody happy. And so that's a balancing act I've got to take on from time to time. Hyperlight mountain gears, uh, backpacks are pretty good. Z packs pretty good. I don't know if there's something going on with Z packs right now, but I've seen a lot of Z packs on the market for sale. I know that the Laurel Highlands hiking trail, when we did the through hike where it was Meerkat, Gary, and Frozen from Outdoor Adventures, both Frozen and Meerkat had issues with their Z packs, uh, arc blasts and arc hauls. So I know there are some issues out there, and I know that a lot of people have had issues. I don't know if that's why there are so many that have been on the market lately. I know there are a lot of people out there that absolutely love them, but then if you see, there are some people that have been diehard fans of Z Packs that have slowly been moving away from Z Packs. Um, so I don't know if there's anything to that. I don't personally own any Z Packs gear, so I can't really talk to that. I've looked at the Hyperlight stuff before, but I have enjoyed going to some of the smaller vendors and getting to try their stuff and get their name out there and try and help them out. I really thought Cody had some great stuff with Appalachian Ultralight. Don't know exactly what happened there, like I said already. Um, but no, I haven't seen those. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if there's something going on with Z Packs. Like I said, HMG is pretty good stuff. I have not heard very many complaints about their stuff at all. Backpacker Dad asks, have you tried an equipment hammock to keep your backpack in? Uh, and then, what's your preferred way of keeping the backpack during the night? So, actually, I've tried a couple of different things. So, if you use the Terrapin Outfitters hatchling or any type of hammock chair while you're out there, you can then, at the end of the night, sling that up as a gear loft or a gear sling underneath your hammock, and you can put your backpack in there. Because most of my stuff is out of my backpack at that point, another thing that I have done is if I'm using the Sheltoe underquilt, it has those two storage areas in the end of that underquilt, and I can place my backpack, since it's not a framed backpack, it's a frameless backpack, I can place it in there, no problem. But normally, I'd say 90% of the time, the way that my backpack ends up is uh, underneath my hammock, I lay down my 3x3 sheet of Tyvek, and it sits on there. And then I will set other stuff on top of my backpack. If I have anything that I want to keep dry overnight, I throw it inside of the backpack and just kind of roll the top. And so that's kind of where that sits. Favorite piece of DIY gear? I have done some DIY videos in the past. I did a couple of stove videos not that long ago. I think my favorite piece of DIY gear is probably the Foster's can that I did for Trip Smith when Devin, Trip, and I did the collaboration video. I think that one's my favorite piece. Came out really well, and I almost didn't want to send it off. Take it easy, King Lone Star. I will see you down at the lake. Yeah, Lost Coast Trail, good trail. I have not tried a Wookiee underquilt. Wouldn't mind trying it out at all. ULA, absolutely. Uh, I've got two ULA backpacks. I've got the ULA CDT, which I love and I've used a whole lot, and then I've got that ULA Ohm 2.0. Great stuff. I have not tried any of their X Pack stuff. I would enjoy some of that. I am sure. I know that Rain Man has, I want to say, like 7 packs from them now, and he's done all of them in X Pack. Really likes it. I think the one thing that I wish they would do is if you're using like an X Pack material, because it is waterproof, seam tape it. I think that if they would seam tape that, it would be a whole lot better. Definitely would be something I would be more interested in. I did not do all of the Lost Coast Trail. I do not remember which sections we did. We were actually out there, man. That was quite a long time ago. I don't remember who I was with either. But while we were out there, so it was me and somebody else. While we were out there, one of the keys to that trip is knowing the tides and knowing the tide table, having the tide table available, and knowing when it's coming in, when it's going out. While we were there, there were, I want to say, two students and a teacher. They were out there as part of a school thing, and they got swept away and killed. And we saw the Coast Guard choppers flying up and down through. They must have been doing a search. We didn't know until after we got back what was going on, but yeah, kind of scary. You've got to know that stuff because there are sections there where you're exposed. You're out on the beach with a cliff uh, that's keeping you from being able to get anywhere other than the water if it starts coming in. So pay attention to that for sure. So, Dads, you had a squeaky ohm. Sorry about that, man. And you hear it in other people's videos. I have not heard mine squeak. I'll have to listen to that, see if I hear that. So you never have to adjust the Wookiee. That's a good deal. That sounds good to me. Um, so even on non-war bonnets, they work well. Okay, good deal. All right, guys. Well, all right, Huck, you did the upper section. Nice, not the lower section in the woods. Cool deal. Uh, we're coming up on right on an hour of this, so I'm going to call it a night. I appreciate you guys checking in. A lot of interaction tonight. Real excited about that, and appreciate you guys tuning in, checking this out, and being a part of this. Check the channel real soon for that 5,000 subscriber giveaway. That is one you guys are not going to want to miss. I've got a lot of different people lined up that have donated things, and it is going to be probably one of the bigger giveaways that definitely the biggest one I've ever done or been involved with. But my son just jumped in and said, "You better win." Justin, what's going on? Uh, but it's got all kinds of good stuff. There will be instructions on how to qualify going up on Facebook probably later this week, even though I have not started the contest yet, the giveaway. I'm going to get that stuff going. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining me tonight. I will talk to you guys later on. Take it easy. I'll see you guys down the trail.